Good morning. I'm Andrea with Happy Cloud Creations, and I thought I would just jump on briefly. I used to a while back jump on here regularly and give monthly updates, but that has not been the case lately. So, um, the Facebook Live is a lot different than since the last time I did this, so I'm not sure. I'll try to do this. Um, Here, maybe if I pull it up on my phone, I will be able to see comments if you guys make comments. So what's been going on? It's been a while since I jumped on here. I think it was July, and a lot has happened since then, obviously. My kids ended up going back in person the first trimester of school, so I wasn't able to sew a bunch. But now they finally went back in person at the beginning of December. So I can get back to sewing and getting more things done. If you jump on, say hi. So I want to see if I can see comments. I don't know why they have to keep changing this Facebook Live settings and try to figure this out. So I guess, oh good. I can see comments on my phone. Hi Linda. I'm glad you're joining. I haven't done a live in such a long time. Sorry. Well, my words. So, I guess I kind of wanted to jump on because if you're in my Facebook Quilt Along group, you may have already seen posts about the next Quilt Along, which is going to be the Prismatic Party Quilt. Yesterday I finished quilting it, so my kids had winter break for 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm going to get some stuff done. Didn't get anything done. Didn't sew one bit. So, yesterday and Monday, I was able to quilt this whole thing just in 2 days. So I finished it. Yay! It's kind of hard to see on the screen, but this is the quilt that we'll be making for the Quilt Along. There's 6 different blocks in the quilt. I made the large, extra large throw? No, just the large throw, which is 72 by 72. Someone was asking what I planned on using for binding since I hadn't finished it quite yet. Thankfully, I have enough of this lime, or actually kiwi, Kona cotton kiwi left. So I think I'm going to do this for the binding. That way, because it has these echoing of sashing, I thought that might look good as the binding. Hi, Sharon. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you like my patterns. I hope everybody likes this design. I had put a poll up in the Quilt Along group to see who would want to, what quilt everybody wanted to do for the next Quilt Along, and we picked this one. And the start date will be February 8th. The pattern will be available January 25th, so that'll give everybody 2 weeks to gather all their fabrics, so we can start. Since this is a paid for pattern, I will be giving a 25% off discount from January 25th to February 7th. And then after that, it'll be 15% off through the rest of the Quilt Along. If anybody has questions about this quilt, please let me know. So this is an expanding size quilt. So if you make the baby size, if you make the king size, everybody's going to have the same amount of blocks. Your pieces will just get larger with the bigger the quilt you make. So, since this is the large throw, you can see what size the smaller blocks are. The center block, let's see, it's pretty big. So I recommend measuring up your units as you make them before you actually make your blocks, because some of the blocks will end up pretty big. So I mentioned that in the pattern too. I mentioned the sizes they should be after you make each unit, and then how big the blocks should be when you're done. This pattern is going to come with directions for a baby size, which is 48 by 48, a throw size, which is 60 by 60, a large throw, which is 72 by 72, an extra large throw, which is 84 by 84, queen, which is 96 by 96, and king 108 by 108. So if you're someone that likes a little more overhang on your queen or king, you could also put a border. I know somebody made a large or extra large size throw, one of my testers, and she added a border so that she made the smaller quilt, but she added a border so it would fit on her king size bed. So if you're like, I don't really want to be making that large of blocks, but I want it for my king size bed, you can make a smaller size, but then add borders to it to make it a little bit larger. The pattern will come with directions for flying geese using the 1 at one time method and also the 4 at one time method, made slightly larger, and then you trim it to size, which if you join the Joyful Meadows Quilt Along, that's how we did the flying geese in that pattern as well. So if you like that pattern and you like those different methods, you will like this one too. So I will go over how to make those different types of flying geese. Each week I'm going to do a weekly tutorial to show you how to put the block together, because I know there's a lot of beginners in my Quilt Along group. So I'll show everybody how to make that block and put it together in case anyone has questions. So this one, I had put a poll in the group. I like doing polls because, you know, I'm hard at making... It's hard for me to make decisions. So I put polls in the group and you guys make the decision for me. So more people prefer making just the whole block each week, right? So instead of, because I had the option, make flying geese one week, make half square triangles one week, and then start making your blocks. And people said no, they would prefer just to make the blocks, everything for that block that week. So you can do that, but, or if during those 2 weeks that you're waiting for the Quilt Along to start, if you want to go ahead and make your flying geese and your half square triangles ahead of time, that's fine too. You can actually check out my YouTube channel for the Joyful Meadows Quilt Along, and there are instructions, the video tutorial on how I made the flying geese. But I'll do that again, but I'll do that on week 1 for this Quilt Along. Let's see. If anybody has questions, let me know. I'm trying to think. So this one will be basically, you can get your pattern on January 25th. February 8th, we will start cutting the fabric. And then the following week, we'll make 1 of block 1. That's the center block. And then week 3, make 4 of block 2. Week 4, make 4 of block 3. Week 5, make 4 of block 4. Week 6, make 8 of block 5. I know that sounds like a lot of blocks, but week 7, we'll only be making 4 of block 6, which block 6 is the corner blocks, which are super, super easy. So if you don't finish all 8 of those blocks in week 7 or 6, you can finish them in week 6 because week 6 is super easy. I like to kind of put my last block in a Quilt Along to be super easy. That way people can catch up. I like my Quilt Alongs to be a little slower so that, you know, people don't get stressed out. Also note that this one is a paid for pattern, so you will just get the whole pattern up front. And some people prefer just going ahead and making their quilts and not waiting for the Quilt Along steps. But if you want to post pictures in the Quilt Along group, it would be nice if you took pictures of each block and posted them on that week so it doesn't confuse other people. Like if you make all of your blocks and you post them the first week, it might confuse people. It's like, which week are we on, you know? So you can always, to join in the Quilt Along, you could always take pictures of your blocks and then post them on that week. I can't think of anything else. You know, it's basically a typical Quilt Along. If you've done any Quilt Alongs with me before, I'll do the weekly blog post, the weekly email, and then the weekly videos and answer any questions that people have. I've already gotten my fabrics for the Quilt Along. I'm making a baby size. I have, this one is a Riley Blake fabric. It's a tiny, tiny floral, and this is going to be my background color. It's Bloomsbury Blossom Liberty Fabrics, and then I just pulled colors from that. This will be my background. And then I pulled colors for that for my other colors. So this will be my A, which is kind of the center of the flowers. Then my B, so this is Grello. This is Nightfall. And then this is just white. And then this one is my sashing, which is wood rose. So I thought that would make a really pretty baby quilt. Okay, my camera's backwards, so. So I'm excited to make this. I'm excited to see what fabrics people pick. You can start posting your fabric polls if you want. I have posted the fabric requirements over in the Quilt Along group under the files section, which is a PDF, and you can just download that, and it actually has a coloring sheet too, so you can plan out your colors. Oh, good, Linda. You love my quilt alongs. Yay! I love quilting along with people too, and it's like last year I realized we did one quilt along, and it's because my kids were at home doing school with them all the time. I did not sew as much, so it's nice to have them back in school. One, they have a proper teacher that can answer their questions. Sometimes I was getting like, I don't know, honey. Maybe we'll wait till your dad gets home so we can see if he can help you with that. So it's nice for him to be at school so they can have a proper teacher. It's nice. I'm going to be able to sew a lot more with you guys, which will be fun. I think that's it about the quilt along. If you guys have questions about it, you can always email me at happycloudcreations@gmail.com. Or you can put questions in this video. Trying to think if there was anything else I was going to tell you guys. No, so I'm going to try to finish quilting this, or putting the basting, or the binding on this quilt. And I'll take a picture. I need to order the paper. That's right. I will need to order paper patterns next Tuesday. And so I put a poll up in the Quilt Along group. So if you're a person that likes paper patterns instead of digital, I put a poll over in the group to see who wants a paper pattern, because I know with the Joyful Meadows, I only ordered like 20 paper patterns and they sold out on release day. And so I just want to make sure everybody gets the pattern they want before the Quilt Along actually starts. So by next Tuesday, I'll take that number of people that want paper patterns and I'll like add 10, 20 to that. And that's how many I will order. That way I don't want anybody to be like, I can't start the Quilt Along, I don't have my pattern yet. Oh, I was sewing earlier. Strings on me. So I want to make sure I have enough for you guys, for those of you that want paper, because I know my some people prefer paper because I get them professionally printed and they're in full color, and some people just don't have printers at home and they want to have it printed out so that it can be in front of them. I don't use the saddleback stitched booklets. My paper patterns are basically a full page 8 by, what is it, 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11, folded in half inside the cover, and then it comes in a zip bag, a plastic zip bag to keep it safe. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I'm really excited to quilt along with you guys again. It'll be a lot of fun, because I feel like the Joyful Meadows was like the beginning of last year, and so it's been a long time. So if you haven't joined my Quilt Along group yet, you can do that. I put the link to it in the description of this video. Just make sure to answer the join questions. That helps me weed out bot and spam accounts. And also, there's a way to like invite your friends to the group. And people have done that in the past. But if you don't tell your friends that they need to answer the join questions, I'm not going to accept them to the group until I know they actually want to be part of the group. Because like somebody recently just like invited 30 of their friends, but I only want them to get like the notifications and stuff from the group if they actually want to be in the group, you know. So make sure to tell them to answer those join questions, and if you want to join the group, answer the join questions. And then also, if you want to get my weekly email notifications, those will be, there's a link in the description of this video to sign up for my emails. So what else has happened? So I guess that's it for the Quilt Along. Unless you guys have questions, let me know. Since July, since I did this video, the kids started school in September, and I cut my thumb with a vegetable mandolin. So I wasn't able to sew for all of September, October, or November because my thumb took forever to heal. It kind of looks normal. Let's see, where's the camera? You can't tell that I cut it. I cut it on this side. But it took forever to heal because I'm on immunosuppressants. So I just couldn't move it, and I couldn't sew, and I couldn't knit. But finally, it's finally healed, and I can sew and knit, and it's all back to normal now, so that's awesome. So yeah, just a whole big chunk I wasn't able to sew or knit. And then they went back to school in December. So not much has been going on. So it's nice they were able to get vaccinated, so they're able to go back in person. But 3 days in, my daughter brought home a cold. So she had to get one of the tests to prove that it was just a cold. And then my son caught the cold. He had to get a test to prove it was just a cold. And then we got sick, me and my husband. So it's like, it's kind of nice to get free tests at the school. Makes it reassuring that it's like, okay, this is just a cold. But they haven't been around people for 2 years. So I'm not surprised they caught a cold. I was just hoping it would take longer than 3 days at school. So now they're back in school. I'm hoping no more colds and they stay healthy. And the Quilt Along will be able to start on time, February 8th. I'm really excited. So make sure to start posting your fabrics. If you got your fabrics, post them. I will post a picture of my fabrics. I've been knitting, now that I can knit again, a sweater. If any of you guys like knitting and are wanting to get into sweater knitting, this flax sweater by Tin Can Knits, super easy. It doesn't have the lines in the pattern. I just kind of added that because I bought this one skein of yarn from Flower Garden Yarns. She is actually local. She's up in Port Angeles, Washington. And I paired, it's a walnut tree. Isn't it super pretty? I paired it with this moss color from, I got it at Web Yarns, and it's a worsted weight as well, wool. And so I thought that was going to be cute. Almost done. Just have to start the sleeves. That's all that's going on. So I'm excited to start sewing, knitting more, and get to share that with you in the Quilt Along group. So join the Quilt Along group if you haven't. If you are like somebody that just doesn't like to do that, I will be posting my videos on YouTube after I film them in the Quilt Along group. And I will be posting blog posts and sending emails. So if you're somebody that just is like, I don't like social media, you can still look at the videos on YouTube and get the emails and blog posts. So if you have a friend that doesn't have Facebook, but they want to join in the Quilt Along, they can join in that way as well. So I guess that's it. I should probably go eat lunch. It's really weird. The house is super quiet and I'm alone. So it's nice to get to talk to you guys today. So I will talk to you guys soon because January 25th is what? So the pattern will be released in 2 weeks. So maybe I'll jump on just again in the Quilt Along group to talk about the pattern a little more if anybody has questions. And then I will be definitely doing weekly videos starting February 8th on tutorial of putting the quilt together. So I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.